Okay, we have a new chapter of Kaiji. This is 327. It's called Misconception. So, they've been diligently depositing their money, going bank by bank, account by account, with their disguises, with their stories, trying to decline all of the long-term high-interest accounts and all of that fun stuff. Kaiji slipped up a little bit. He allowed a Tei debtor to spot him. They know now that they're on the run, that their faces are plastered on wanted posters and flyers all over Japan. I mean, they knew they were on the run, but they didn't know that second part. So, Kaiji has some idea. There's one smart move we can make, and that's... Okay, before I scroll down, do I have any final guesses? What is Kaiji's disguise idea? Is it a hat that says cosplay? Because I personally recommend this one. You wear the hat that says cosplay, and they're like, hey, isn't that famous YouTube manga reaction artist Keatsta? And everyone's like, nah, it isn't them. Because that's just someone cosplaying as Keatsta. You can tell from the hat. They're like, oh, it's not the real Keatsta, it's a Keatsta cosplayer wearing the hat that indicates cosplay. And then I get to walk along undisturbed. The scenario happens dozens of times per day. Okay, anyways. So, what is it? It's not the cosplay hat. It's one small touch besides the disguises. So, it's not the disguises. It's not a disguise. Something they can do. I don't know. Okay, we'll see. Discussed their henceforward countermeasure from their mothership, the center of the earth. Ah, yes, that's what they've named their RV after the RV sales lot. Oh, I just love that guy. I love those chapters so much when they were buying that RV. So, we're not going to get to see their plan. It's, of course, the classic, because we don't get to see it, it's going to work. We've talked about this plot, this storytelling convention 100 million times. It's precisely at this time, that is to say, the time from when Kaiji had been spotted by one of Tei's debtors at the Daikoku Bank in Ibaraki, chased after and reported to Tei by that same individual. The time since that report has been approximately 20 minutes. Ooh, so I think we're going to start getting some parallel plot here. What I'd like to see, I think this would be really fun, is we get to really get into the mind of this Tei debtor and perhaps a small squad of Tei black suits that's going to try to help him track down Kaiji, try to get the leg up and stop their next deposits. And then we're going to see nothing. Like, we're going to see their failure. We're going to see all of their net searches of local banks fail. We're going to wonder why. How did they make the deposit right under our noses? And then after that, we'll return to Kaiji's group and figure out what their trick was, what their new small twist on their plan was. Right? Wouldn't that be fun? It kind of looks like maybe we'll do that. So that'll give us more time to figure it out. All right, so here we have Black Suit HQ, Tei, and his name is just right gone from me, even though we focused on him so much in the last arc. The Wild Dog. Manhunt headquarters that Tei had established to pursue Kaiji had gone topsy-turvy. Lookouts in place. Arrived at the station 10 minutes after you contacted. Hearing the report from that debtor, Tei dispatched lookouts to be set up at all the stations nearby the bank the report had originated from. Ticket gates, operated locks, taxi stops, they set up watchmen for everywhere. Okay, this makes sense. They presume, I don't think they've cottoned on to the idea of the RV yet. They still think that Kaiji's group is moving around via public transit. So they feel like the smartest thing to do is to shut down the stations near the bank. So, yeah, I think that's pretty smart, as the first stage. And then I assume they're going to start going into setting up in banks. Lightning quick operation took no more than 10 minutes. In fact, one of Tei's loan contract branch stores was just outside the station from the bank was a lucky break. So they deployed men from there, and black suits are suddenly everywhere. Fully secured, additionally a station further down could not be reached without taking a bus, also had men dispatched to be on the lookout. It was on lockdown. Okay. Okay. Ibaraki was locked. There'd be no escaping from Ibaraki. Fun. Fun. I like this idea that the whole little region is on lockdown. Of course, they don't know about the RV, but putting that aside, it kind of creates a fun scenario that Kaiji must conduct his business all while having no escape option, all while the black suits have surrounded the perimeter, so to speak. Places nearby the bank where Kaiji had been witness, coin-operated lockers not in stations, but in department stores, side of streets, also had been dispatched of. Immense sum of oh my god, I said something weird there. The immense sum of cash Kaiji's group had could not be carried around by ordinary means, in which case they also wanted to secure places nearby the bank, those lockers within walking distance, and lock them down as well, stationing men there to lock down the lockers. Lock down the lockers. Well, this makes a lot of sense. They're thinking logistically about what Kaiji's group has to deal with. They got a ton of cash, a ton of physical cash, which is why they're going around depositing it all, because that's such a liability. And so their range of movement is quite limited, the things that they're able to do. And of course, Kaiji, being paranoid, and rightfully so, about the safety of his cash, would have some sort of scheme in place to make sure that they're not just walking around with big briefcases or duffel bags or whatever. So all of this makes sense. I think Tei is locking down the right things. They just hadn't seen this RV plan. Able to hide their money away. Put one way, an indirect checkmate. Yes. What's that called? A zugzwang? Yeah, a zugzwang. 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 Zugzwang is a situation where you're obliged to do something. So it's a chess term. You're obliged to make one move, of course, and yet all of the moves you can make put yourself in danger. All of them make your position weaker. So Kaiji is still free, right? But he has to do something, and they've left him with no options. Zugzwang. It's a very, very rare thing in chess. Normally there's at least one move that the opponent can make that makes their position at least remain neutral or starts scraping back some small advantage. Some best move that's above losing. But in Zugzwang, these sort of miraculous states, usually achieved by brilliant chess players in critical moments, they can do nothing. All leads to ruin. This group would be unable to head, yeah, indirect. Let's head over to Ibaraki 2. Ooh, he's back on the scene. We're not done with him yet. He lost. He sure did lose, quite humiliatingly, and the apartment bulwark standoff. But I'm going to comb through the business hotels nearby, probably staying at and hunt them down. They just don't know about the RV. Nobody clicked. What if they're in an RV? And I suppose if they had, it would have been like GG. Like, this is the whole value of the RV. How can you possibly track them down in that case? Kai's focus was on stations, hotels, and lockers. Places they would need to visit in the event they had not obtained for a car themselves. Means of travel, lodging facilities, places of temporary store cash. This all makes sense. But it's the RV defeats it all. 3 kinds of places they chose to prioritize. So the most important to monitor through their lookouts to answer the question of how things came to be this way. Primarily caused by what happened 3 days prior. The so-called Previa shock. Kaiji's group had rented a Previa at a car rental shop. So this is something they knew through their network. This is something that Kaiji had anticipated, that this sort of information would become open to them. And that's why he had gone so far out of the way to find that RV dealership with that guy that they could trust. Thrown in a multi-star tower parking garage, Previa they did not use. Previa served only as a decoy. That trap. I see. The Previa shock. I love it. This all makes sense. So this was to give the illusion that A, they couldn't rent a car without being caught, right? This is probably what Kaiji was seeking to confirm. Tei realized Kaiji was just doing that to confirm the insecurity of renting a car. And then Kaiji dumped it away which then to them proves Kaiji has no access to cars and thus is doing everything by foot, thus leading to their current defense strategy of checking hotels, lockers, and train stations. Brilliant. It's all working out for Kaiji, because all of it, it just goes around the RV. This black hole of an RV, this silhouette outlined by all of their efforts coming up futile. Will they be able to recognize the secret IV? Thinking it's suspicious of the full week had passed since it had been stored, the driver had not come back to pick it up. The parking lot management contacted the owner of the car. The rental car shop displayed in the windshield and had them come and take it back. Looking at the Previa once it was back in the shop, going to the car rental store, which has been rented, who himself was a debtor that had been taking it away from Tei, immediately relayed what he saw to them, and that was Previa the Kaiji's group had rented showed a mere 2 kilometers on the trip distance counter. This meant put into the parking garage after being rented and abandoned there, just like that. Kaiji's group was not driving around in the car. At the very least, not in that Previa, for sure. This trap that Kaiji had engineered, this ruse he had organized, served to completely ensnare Endo. That's his name. It would have come to me eventually, but I'm glad they just told me. In a state of doubting himself. This is cool. This really reminds me of the king trap in One Poker, right? Like, in subtle ways, you can tell Fukumoto still wants to tell the same types of stories, the same psychological twists and traps and stuff. And this shadow of the Previa, this idea that they had caught Kaiji with the decoy car, therefore Kaiji definitely doesn't have a car, is the same kind of attitude of he had caught Kaiji not using the king, therefore maybe he has a king. You know, like this deliberate performance indicating some absence of a resource, therefore actually shadowly suggesting the use or not use of that resource. Oh, this is becoming hard to explain. I hope you get it. I think you'll probably get what I mean. Why do they have to carry around so much money with them? I thought for sure they needed to have a car as a bare necessity, but was that a rushed conclusion on our part? You think? Do they actually have a car right now? Probably do have a car. There's no traces of them buying one or renting one at the moment. Right. Maybe they stole a car to drive. That's a good suggestion. That's definitely a blind spot in their information network. Nobody's going to tell them if they stole a car. It's not like they can just patrol the police scanner or whatever and investigate every single stolen car, because I'm sure there's lots and lots of cars that are stolen. Not exactly impossible, it carries its own set of risks. Us, but the entire police force has their enemies. If they realize there might be a stolen car, the police aren't going to let them go quietly. Unless cash sitting around in there would be an awful problem if things go wrong and they lose it all. Alright, so yeah, it's a weak point in their network, but it's more than compensated for by the police itself. Sure. That's why it might be actually using railway transport instead. Just walking around with it, all 2.4 billion, all 240 kilograms. Might be tricky alone. Ooh, this is amazing. So Endo is now really trying to think like Kaiji and coming up with these actually quite impressive Kaiji-esque schemes and considerations that are leading him to, of course, the entirely wrong conclusion. So yeah, might be tricky alone, but there's 3 of them. You carry 800 million, 80 kilograms of weight. Then I also thought it was unrealistic to expect at first. At the very least, we need to investigate how much the biggest suitcase can hold. So after investigating, it's astonishing. The biggest suitcase, first of all, is 90 liters. Complete volume of sure. Wow. Yeah, you can fit it in. They've confirmed that you can, within a rolling suitcase, fit your share of the 2.4 billion. A little less than it, but you can make it work. Have another bag that you're carrying on your shoulder or something. So now in Endo's mind, this is all looking frighteningly possible, just at the very edge of possibility. And because it seems so initially impossible at first, but only through very precise calculation does it seem possible, Endo's thinking this must be Kaiji's route, right? It reeks of Kaiji. It reeks of that kind of thinking. Desperate, looking for the edge case, looking for right on the very precipice of impossibility, sneaking through there. That's Kaiji. That's Kaiji all over. So, this is, I think he's pretty set on this plan now. The Kaiji and them are just going from station to station with rolling suitcases. Doesn't look suspicious at all. I knew it. The last 100 million in a backpack and carried around on your back using railway transport is barely possible. With just that much luggage, Chase-bound pursuers getting away is going to be difficult. Still possible to do under normal peaceful conditions, which means it's actually something of a likely move. Use that renting of a Frevia in order to make us think he's going to drive around when actually he's just been riding trains. It's even the way it's depicted with the dotted line hypotheticals and Endo like piecing it together. It really seems like he's on the money. It really makes it seem like he's having the correct revelation. It's kind of cruel to him, actually, that they're depicting it like this, when he's so wrong. Since we thought he was using the card this whole time, we haven't been paying attention to stations at all. This dialogue happened 3 days ago. From this point onward, Tei assumed Kaiji's group was using railways as transport. The chance of this was higher than any other conceivable option, so they watched the stations. Coin-operated lockers on lockdown, and Kaiji from storing his money away. Act of doing this, Ibaraki itself was on lockdown. They had Kaiji's group completely entrapped within Ibaraki, but by this time, they just... Oh, this is so cruel to Endo. This is so cruel. Because at least with the Bulwark, you know, he was right. He was completely right. He was doing all the right things. He just overlooked that final advantage that Kaiji had by knowing people in the building. And then he suffered that humiliating defeat where Kaiji just rode the scooter right past him. And now, he's unfortunately totally wrong, and he's going to have this whole arc by himself that probably isn't going to even be depicted. Poor Endo doesn't even get his arc, where they lock down Ibaraki and systematically search out the hotels and keep Kaiji from riding the trains. But the defeat has already happened. The RV, just like the scooter, passes silently Endo without him ever being wiser. Goodness. Poor Endo. Poor Tei. Just like 3 steps behind and 5 steps to the left of what Kaiji's plan actually was. How can they possibly recover from this? Kaiji is just off to wherever the heck he wants to. They have a new strategy for the deposits. Their money is safely and systematically just being digitized. It feels like they're in the best position yet. It feels like they're maybe even in the home stretch. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Thank you as always to Fukumoto Crazy. We got something even more exciting after this. But of course it's Fukumoto related. I'm talking a new chapter of Kurosawa. So let's look forward to that. Bye-bye for now.